I'm sitting here with Mike Mehaffy, and we've been talking about one of my heroes, Christopher Alexander, and Mike spends a lot of time back to your graduate school days, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
With Chris Alexander, and now leads the Environmental Structures Research Group, and is I think a fan of mine because of what we've been able to do with software patterns and a strong interest in doing that and even more in the built world.
Absolutely. Well, what I find really interesting about what you guys have, particularly in the pattern, design pattern world, is taking the essential ideas of pattern languages and taking them open source, in effect, and really brought in the power of collaboration in a much sort of stronger way. Not that pattern language isn't a very strong, robust piece of work, but I think what it probably lacks is the ability to adapt to new projects, new problems, new issues that can be customized in the way that design patterns are customized for different kinds of problems.
Well, one thing I remember is of course there's the book, the A Pattern Language is such a complete work. It's a little scary that there's so much there.
It looks like a Bible.
Yeah, but it's also screaming to be something other than a page by page. It wanted to be a hierarchy or a tree or a graph.
Well, it is.
And the ability to write it on pages. We were lucky. We started just as the internet was taking off, and so we fell into this hypertext thing, which has been pretty good. But the one thing we did that disappointed us is that we found that sure we wanted to do books too, and keeping those books in print is a bit of a problem. The publishers, they're into the book for a while. Have you seen that problem? I think, of course, Chris's is probably stayed together, but this tradition, there's kind of a strange interaction with the publication and this kind of like lifelong, forever notion. The time scale of a book and the time scale of patterns is like completely different.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, a lot of the patterns that are in the book A Pattern Language are the thinking in the profession is different about them now. They really need to be updated. Or Chris himself would say, I disagree with what we thought back then.
Yeah.
We really need to update that. That's affected a lot of his work ever since, what he's done to sort of supplement a lot of those ideas. But I think the issue about print is really an interesting one because, of course, pattern language is really very much still in print and sells very well, but some of Chris's other books are not in print anymore. And it's interesting because the way print works with the web seems to be complementary, and the ability to do true hypertext is really important, I think. The pattern language was written as a kind of hypertext document.
Oh, yeah, that's very clear.
And so Chris was very excited when the web came along that you could actually do that. And I think that's one of the things that really still needs to be done is to take more advantage of that as I was talking about before, in the sort of customizable format of writing patterns for a specific project and using the hypertext. And then using the publication stuff to sort of supplement that and document some of the more
the classics, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the universal patterns. So I think you guys have really inspired us to try.
Well, I keep reminding myself that the web is still young, and we haven't discovered the best way to use it yet. And
that's true.
I've personally been inspired in a lot of my work. Wiki, in a sense, is a direct consequence of trying to get at that hypertext nature of a pattern language. And in fact, I don't think anybody would have gotten Wiki when I made the first one if we weren't already trying to do patterns. So I think the Wiki community has pattern language to thank for that wisdom, whether they make the connection or not.
Well, it's fascinating, and I think we have you guys now to thank for inspiring us to kind of bring it full circle and more open source and more collaborative in the way we use that set of ideas, because right now it's still fairly, again, we have the problem of the Bible, 253 patterns, and convincing folks that no, you can write patterns and they're really going to be useful for you. is a big
well, I think
project still to do.
I think that's a challenge for the coming years, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope the ESRG turns out to be a vehicle that helps.
Well, that's the intent.
And with that, I want to thank you for taking the time with us here
Thanks.
today. It's a pleasure.
Enjoyed
being here.
all of our discussions. Hope to have more.
Yeah.
Great.